Hello everyone, welcome back here to the channel. Today I'd like to work on using adjectives as nouns. Now, my name's Scott, it's great to be back here and I'd like to give this lesson. Hopefully you can understand adjectives to nouns. Now, for example, the word young. Young is an adjective, a young person, a young man, a young lady. But if I put a the in front of that young, then I can make that into a noun. So, the young. Let me give you an example. So the young can learn a lot from the elderly. Now the young here and the elderly here, they're both used as nouns, although they're adjectives generally, elderly people, young people. So this is how it works. So we put a the or the, depending if it's a vowel, and it makes it into a noun. So the young can learn a lot from the elderly. Let me give you another example based on society itself. So unfortunately in society, there are many homeless people. So more needs to be done to help the homeless in society. The homeless there becomes a noun. Another example, the yellow tiles on the street are there to help the visually impaired. So the yellow tiles are used to help the visually impaired. I use the word visually impaired, which is more polite, and probably nowadays it's better to use. Now you might be familiar with the word blind. A blind person is a person who cannot see. A little bit strong, and maybe a little bit, I'd say, rude to use nowadays. So I'm going to change it to visually impaired. And as you know, on the station, on the platform, on the street, we have those yellow dotted tiles. So the yellow tiles are used to help the visually impaired. One more case is somebody who has trouble hearing or cannot hear. Now you might look in a dictionary and see the word deaf, D-E-A-F. Also, the same as blind, be a little bit careful using that. So for trouble seeing, I'll say visually impaired, and for trouble hearing, I'll say hearing impaired. Just an extra note here on, I think, correct and proper usage. So the yellow tiles are used to help the visually impaired. One more example. The injured were taken to the hospital. The injured were taken to the hospital. Injured with an I, so make it a the injured, were taken to the hospital. Now these adjectives I used here as nouns, of course, we can just put people on there and use the sentence exactly has the same meaning. So the injured were taken to the hospital, the injured people were taken to the hospital, or the visually impaired people as well. Makes that people and people on there as well is perfectly fine. So more needs to be done to help the homeless people in society. Young people. Now, if I say the young people can learn a lot from the elderly, let's make it to young people can learn a lot from elderly people. In some situations, you don't need to use that. I want to move on now to nationalities and people from different countries. Let me give you some examples first. So the Japanese are well known for their hospitality. Japanese people are well known for their hospitality. That's true. So the Japanese are well known for their hospitality. The British have pride in their culture. British people have pride in their culture, the British. The French are famous for their cuisine. The food there is quite famous, you probably agree. So the French are famous for their cuisine. Now, when I have the nationality ending in a CH or an SS or what else I want to say, SH, that case, you can keep it as it is. Now, many other nationalities, you'd have to put the S afterwards. Let me give you a couple examples here. So the Americans declared their independence in 1776. That's a fact. I can't say the American there, so the Americans with the S declared their independence in 1776. The Brazilians are passionate about soccer. So again, Brazilians are passionate about soccer. Now if I change it to the British are passionate about soccer. That's fine too. Just keep it as an H at the end. No need to make it a plural. Now, one more thing I want to go over is on the singular. Now, for example, it's just one person in general. Try to put the noun in there at the end. So, for example, a Korean tourist asked me for directions. So using a as it's one person, Korean, and the person is a tourist or a Korean man asked me for directions. Now, if I say a Korean asked me for directions, truthfully speaking, it sounds a little bit rude. So you have to be a little bit careful with that. So if it's going to be one person, put on the noun at the end, whether it's a tourist, a man, a woman, a boy, a businessman, a teacher, a Korean businessman. Put that on at the end there, not just nationality only if it's one person. Okay, everybody? Hope you're good with this, using the adjectives as nouns. And if you have any questions or anything you'd like me to do in this lesson, by all means, please put it down below in our comments or questions box. And like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated as well. Okay, everyone, thanks for watching, and we'll be back here again soon. Until then, keep up the great work.